So coming to this, so what we gonna do? If you see, I opened a VS Code, which is called as a Visual Studio Code. We can in fact download this. So it's a typical Next installation. So once you open a particular folder, you can just do like, open folder and specify that particular path. I have created one folder called as Python Jan 2024 and I just opened it. Under it, if you want to open a new file or a new folder, we can have two options. So if you want to create a new folder, let's say I want to say demo. It is a folder I created. Now, in fact, if you want to create a file, I can specify. Say like I want to say course content. .txt. So it's a text file. Similarly, I can write like hello.py. That is a Python file. So like that we can create. So VS Code or Visual Studio Code is an editor. It's not like Python should be written only here. We can write Python in even a notepad also. Or even a much better IDEs like PyCharm, others also. So we should have somewhere to start. That's where we are starting. And also someone asks me, sir, can we go with like Jupyter notebooks? How different is it? Even Jupyter notebook also in the same way. So as we are in the initial steps, let's focus on one. Slowly, I will introduce everything else afterwards. Now coming to the thing. So about the course content, what we're going to discuss in this particular journey. So for the next 30 to 40 days, we will have discussion on the various topics. Initially in terms of the setting of the IDE, editors and Python installation, local setup. So, and GitHub access and creating a project like that we will focus. And then slowly we'll show you like what is the previous version of Python 2 to 3 differences. So if you are having some experience, you are placing how to showcase the old things. And introduction about the basic grammar and arithmetic operations, string operations like that. So by the time you have completed second chapter, you will get a fair idea about what is this language. So then we have the language components and the exception handling and debugging. So with this fifth chapter, you will get like some more better understanding of uses of the different things. But if you want to make a real-time use cases, so then you have the data structures of Python. What are those data structures? How different they are? All those things we will discuss. And once you come to the functional programming, so you'll get a very clear picture. You can start working and you can start implementing some new utilities using Python. So from there onwards, you have the advanced Python in terms of decorators, iterators, generators, coroutines. These are all the design patterns. As part of the Python itself, we will use it. Generally, in other languages, if you want to learn this much, you need to first learn a lot of concepts. If I compare with Java, core Java and advanced and all these things. So in Python, the best part is like the structure is very simple. Syntax is very simple. So you will learn a lot of advanced concept in a very short time. So that's the advantage. And then onwards, I will introduce to the real-time use cases. For that, I will show different modules which are there in Python and how to work with that, how to create our own package and our own modules. So that also I will tell. It's not a break deal. It's not a rocket science. And then working with the file systems. So even if you are working on in web development or backend development or like data engineering, file handling is the most important thing. So what are the different kinds of files, how to work with each other file format, and all those things I will tell. Then we have a typical process called as logging, which is needed whenever you're creating any standalone systems. So then we will introduce the object oriented. So why I'm introducing object oriented this much late? Because it doesn't mean that you need to write everything in classes in Python. Without classes also you can do a lot of things. First, I want to introduce all of that. At the same time, what is the advantage of going for object oriented? with classes. I will introduce that difference. So then you will understand the full picture. And then I will show you what is code quality, how to write unit tests, how it actually works in professional projects. Then the regular expressions, which is another big thing which can help you. And then connecting with the databases and creating a REST APIs. Not only creating, but consuming, or like web scraping. So then a bit of intro towards, data science related, like how to use NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, all these things. So this is a journey we will go for the next 30 to 40 days. So daily we will have a call. So 1 hour minimum. So sometimes it can go for like 1.5 hours also. So you can make yourself ready. Occasionally, if there is any kind of issues for me, I will inform so that we will have a slight change in the timetable. But generally, we will go in this way format. Hope everything is clear till now.
Yeah.
Fine. So coming to the installations, if someone is ready to volunteer, I can show them how to do the installations in your system such that it will be from scratch and you can do on your own.
Fine.
If everyone has installed Python, then fine. So it's not, if not, it's a quick installation only. Now coming to the starting of the project, how to work on the new files. I told that how we created .txt files. In the same fashion, we can create a .py file. So .py, the moment you place, it becomes a Python file. So in Python, you can write any statements like this. If I want to print something, I need to use the print function. So there are good number of functions. I will introduce you all of them slowly. But what is this function? I wrote some code. Now how to execute it? There are multiple ways. So you can right click and run Python. So for the first time, if you are writing a Python code, it will ask some pop-up for installations of the extensions. Once you do that, you can do it. But sir, I don't have a Python environment. So then how do I work? So even if you don't have some environment, you can start working. So if I go with like a online Python IDEs, you can just Google online Python IDEs. You can get to them. You can see that the moment I typed online Python IDEs, I got like a good number of IDEs. So among them, I prefer the first one. It's very simple and intuitive. So if I open it, what are the hello world? You can see the same thing. So if I print this hello world, you can see the output. Means initial, if you are starting, if you don't have environment also, nothing to worry. If you have an environment, just go with that. So now coming back to the environment, whatever we have. So here, now how to execute it? So if you installed the Python for the first time, so you open a VS Code, then automatically it will show this option, run Python file in the terminal. So a new terminal will open and it will run. So this is one way of running. But is it the better way, or are there other ways? Yes. Assume that you don't know this. So you can go for the option called as terminal. You can open a new terminal. So by default for everyone, terminal will come in the down. So if you don't want the terminal in the down, you can change the layout. So for that, you can go for the appearance. In the appearance section under the view, you have the panel position. It is by default bottom. If I make it to right side, then it will change to the right. Also for some people, so it will be CMD by default, but mostly it will be PowerShell. If you have PowerShell, so you can select the option. Also, you can do like see what I'm doing. I opened the terminal. You can see the CMD here. If you click it, it will ask you to select default profile. Earlier, by default, it will be PowerShell. I change it to command prompt. So whenever you're changing, once you close and open the VS Code again, that's the one thing that you need to do. Okay, I did it. So generally, if you are coming from a Mac background, you can see that this path will not come for you every time, right? So it will just show the latest directory in Linux or Mac. Whereas in Windows only, you will get a very big path. So if you want to remove that path, you can say prompt hyphen. Means like you are replacing the entire path with this hyphen. You can do anything. It is just a Windows command, nothing to do with Python. Just for like a setup purpose, I am telling this. Now everything is done. Now how to run these files? I have the files in this directory. So this is the folder file explorer. This is my code and this is the command prompt. I created like 3 environments like this clearly. Now, if I want to execute, first I need to go to that file, right? If I do, in Linux, we do ls or Mac also. In Windows, we do dir. Dir will tell the list of directories in this particular current directory. In current directory, it has 00 demo because we created a folder. So if you want to go to the file, first we need to go into it. So there are 2 ways. So 00 folder, if I do like a slash, then in this way I can go, in this way I can go to the hello. So like this I can go. So in Python, if you want to execute something, we can write Python space like this. Now, did you see the file was executed? Or if you feel this is difficult, you can do cd, means like change directory to that directory where you want to change. Now, if I do like a dir, I can see directly both the files. Now, I need not do like the previous command because there is no more demo folder. I can directly execute Python hello world. Now, if you want to clear the screen, in Windows, we call CLS. In Linux or Mac, we call clear. Now, I'm executing by clicking an up arrow. In all the environments, if you click up arrow, you go to the previous commands. So the previous command is hello. So like this I have. Now, similarly, I do like something else. I am writing one more statement, something else. Until and unless everything is in a double quotes within the things, it works perfectly. And one more point to mention, the beauty of Python is that you can work with double quotes or single quotes. There is nothing issue. So, but do you think like that code should be uniform enough? So there is some kind of best practices. What are those best practices? Are called as PIP8 guidelines. If I just Google the PIP8 guidelines, you can notice that. You can see just PIP8 guidelines. What is this PIP8? What are those guidelines? Simple. See, in the every language evolution, you will feel like, some things need to be added. So PIP means Python Enhancement Proposals, basically. There were like a lot of enhancements, Python enhancement proposals, PIPs. So 0, 1, 2, 3, like that they will name, right? So initially when they started the language, they named one after the other. Like that, the 8th number, PIP8, is related to the style guide for Python code. So guide or a recommendation means what? Even if you don't do all of that also, things will work. But it's a best practice. So generally they say traffic rules should be followed. If you violate, what will happen? Sometimes, right? If you are lucky, fine, or else there will be problems. So like that, there were some best practices. But do you think, sir, as a beginner, can I go to all of that and understand? No. Even for the person who is experienced also, they cannot remember all these things. But the basic things you can understand slowly, and daily you can come and walk through these things. Slowly you will understand. They say like, when you are writing the code, how many white spaces should be there around each operator. So how the code should be written and all these things. So there are some softwares also called as linters to help you to better format the code also. I will slowly introduce them afterwards, but just I am introducing you today to this language. So daily we will come back to this page and see how much we have learned and how much it will be useful for us. Now coming back to our code. So I have written something. Now we need to work. So what is that we can see here? Say like I want to write something. Some garbage I wrote. So what will happen now? Don't you think it will throw an error? So this is how Python throws an error. Whenever error is thrown, not every time it will show the exact line where the problem is. Sometimes it will show the error where it felt. It is a very simple code. That's why it is saying that, hey, in this particular program, so at line 6, you have an issue. At line 6, what it is saying? Name error, this so-and-so is not defined. Means it is thinking that it is some name, means some variable, some might have defined, and it is thinking what to do. And did you see for every error, there will be some classification. What kind of error it is? Name error. Similarly, if I don't want to work with it, I can comment it. For commenting, you can write like a hash. So if I write a comment, that line will not be processed by Python interpreter. Now, did you understand? So it is not at all working, right? So let me clear the screen again and then run again. So this is how it works. So similarly, if I want to do a small computations, say number 1, I want to assign to something. So number 2, I want to assign to something. And now I want to get the result. So addition is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Did you see that I defined the variables and using them? Unlike static languages like C, C++ or Java, where you first define whether it is an integer or float, and then you assign the values and then do the operations, right? But here nothing like that. You are not even defining a class, not defining even a function. You are just writing as if you are writing on a pen and paper, right? This style of programming is called as aspect-oriented programming. Means like a ordinary bash script or shell script like that. Please, what is the doubt? Excuse me. Yeah, fine. So that is how it works. So the beauty is like you don't define the variables. You need not worry about how much memory management and anything. You just define the variables, use it. So Python works perfectly. If I do like addition, now you can see the output. Did you see? And if you do any operations, if you want the output, you should make a print. If I write the same variable called as addition without a print statement, will it work? It worked, but you cannot see the output. So until unless we make a print statement, we cannot see the results. There is another way called as logging that I will tell afterwards. But as of now, think that this is the only way. And similarly, for the same numbers, if I want to say like, hey, number 1 is equal to 123 point so and so, floating point value. Number 2 is equal to some other floating point value. So now I am doing like, say subtraction, I am doing something is equal to number 1 minus number 2. I can print subtraction. Now, did you see the output? It is doing. But don't you think like, every time you are seeing the previous results also? If you don't want to see the previous results, you can do CLS in Windows, clear in Linux or Mac. and then run the previous command. If you want to combine these two, like CLS and this together, you can do like this, ampersand. So in Windows and Linux, if you want to combine two statements, it is nothing to do with Python. It is a language thing. Nothing to do with language. It's a operating system thing. CLS is for clearing the screen. This is our command to run our program, right? I am combining this now. So every time if I write a command, so you see only the current result only you see. You need not worry about the previous results. So now you are very much focused on what you want. So, and the next point. So you understood about how to print. So how to create a variable, what all these things. But it is showing like, 357. So this is like 110 minus. But what is this 357? What is this minus 110? If you are just printing the value, it makes no sense. So it will make sense only if you write some clearly. Means like, if I write the same thing in quotes, what is the difference, sir? Or similarly here, if I write the same thing in quotes, what will happen? Within quotes, you write anything, it is treated like a string. Did you see? If within quotes, if you write anything, it is treated like a string. So, but without quotes, you write anything, it will not treat like a string, but like a variable. So now you see the same things I will do again. Subtraction 1 I do and subtraction 1 I do. You see now? This time I did it. Now did you see what happened? Means if you don't define something with quotes and that variable is not defined, then it will throw a name error. So that's the reason we should use any variable after defining only. How do you define? Just assign a value and use it, that's it. Without assigning, you cannot use. But within quotes, you can print any garbage. Now, the last statement in this particular program is that, okay, you are showing both of that. Can I show both of them together? Yes. So this is the best practice, basically. The subtraction, whatever you have written, if you write comma separated, print statement supports comma separated values. You can give any number of values. So now it is much more clear, right? We can understand what it is doing. So if I do like equal to, I can see the same result, what's happening. So like this, it works. So I think like I introduce you to the basic concepts of what it is happening, how it's happening, the basic setup. And this is how you write like a Python program and run it. So not only that, in Python, so you can work in interactive mode also. If you just type Python after installing, this is the way to test Python is working. The beauty is like for the past 1-2 years, so Windows is coming with Python installed by default in Windows itself. So only thing is like you need to activate in the Windows apps. So you need not install specifically. Earlier, it used to be a big trouble of configuring the environment variables and a lot of things. You're all lucky enough. And what is the version it is saying? Python 3.11.7. But what is the current version? So we have like 3.12. So we can work on any version. There is no limitation. So python.org. This is a original site for Python or official site. So if you want the documentations or PyPy, I will tell you what is PyPy. Means like the repository where if you want to work on anything, there is a module. Starting from like biotechnology to bioinformatics or like astronomy to cloud computing, any computation world, you have a package. If I just say like, cloud, you see, for cloud working, a lot of things are there. Say if I'm working on AWS cloud. So for AWS, what kind of things are there? Or like if you are working on data science or machine learning. So machine learning, if I say, so like that, you can see a lot of modules are there. So if you know a particular name of the module, or you can search by different things, by topics, frameworks like that. So if you want to work on chatbots, emails, all these things. PyPy is the official repository of Python. Similarly, so if you want to go to the downloads, so traditionally, if you want to download, you can just go to the download section and download. So once you open in browser, based upon your operating system, it detects and shows you that. My is a Windows, that's why by default showing the Windows download. If yours is a Mac or Linux, it will show correspondingly. Or explicitly, if you want to go to any one, you can specify. Or you are not interested in the latest version, you want to go for alternative implementations, then you can see the view the list of all implementations. It will show what are all the current implementations. So you can see 3.13 is a pre-release, means it's not stable. So 3.12, it is bit stable enough. 3.11 is also stable enough. So for that, they are doing bug fixes, means it 3.11 dot something. So if you want to see clearly which version when released, this is how you can see. So the latest version is like December 8th, 3.12 dot so and so. But I am using 3.11. It's okay. So there will be slight differences. So you can see the new changes in the release notes every time. But fine. So this is how you understood about Python. So installations and everything. And if you want to know the documentations, in fact, you can find everything here. You need not even go to the YouTube or some other things. You can find everything free here. If you want to get a beginner's document, how to work and all these things. Or you can go for advanced or like Python books, whatever you want, like a developer's guide and everything you can find here. It's okay. So some people will build their own Python and work. So that is not for you. That is for an advanced thing. You can ignore this point. This is for the people who are developing Python, or like you want to customize your Python environment. But this is how we work. So with this, I will stop.